Well, it's really about sharing ideas from other local authorities and other leisure trusts up and down the country. We've got lots of hard-to-reach groups in Bromley, which might be surprising to some people. They think it's quite an affluent area, but we have estates with high levels of crime and young people with not much to do. So this is good for us to come and find out what's happening elsewhere.
I'm hoping to tell lots of people, lots of different representatives of different councils in the country who are here today about Leicester's Open Day. That's my primary aim at the moment.
Just to look at what other boroughs of Beacon that's achieved the Beacon status achieved, and see what lessons we can learn from them to improve our own services.
I think it's a bit of a chance to find out in more detail about the range of practice for which other local authorities got Beacon.
Well, we made an application for a Beacon Award and we were unsuccessful. So the reason why I came today is because I wanted to find out more about what we needed to do in order to be successful next time. And it's been a very useful day.
I'm hoping for some new ideas really, just to see how sort of other councils are actually running, and just, like I say, get loads of new ideas really and take it forward.
I think it's been really interesting to look at the different examples and case studies that people have put forward today. I think we're all Beacon authorities, but everyone has such a diverse, range of projects that they've, won this award for, and also, the showcasing of the best practice. I think that's really fantastic.
The NEOM agenda, basically, obviously. Using sport to engage young people, obviously due to the demography of the area we work in, so yes.
Some of the work that NEOM are doing around evidence and proving the case for culture is really useful for us.
Aspects around evaluation, but also I think about the need to be more creative in terms of the partnerships that we form, which I think will lead to a more successful application. So let me actually go back, because that's part of it, but I think also Newham Council, who spoke this morning in one of the workshops about a toolkit and how to put together the whole process and how to sort of sustain projects as well. So although that sounds a bit jumbled up, it's a number of things really that I wanted to get out of today's conference.
A lot of it really, what I'm interested in is sort of like seeing people who do similar stuff to what we're doing and what we're trying to actually do, and just trying to take sport forward, because we're obviously linking in a lot with sort of like, especially with myself, with young offenders, etc.
Well, we also have an ageing population, a lot of people living alone, who may be isolated and lonely, and some of the work we do is to try to encourage them to come out and socialise and get involved in their local communities. And we also have some ethnic groups who may not have English as their first language, and some of those people we know find it very, very difficult to get involved.
An interesting point to make is that Newham's populations, one would say, are actually hard to reach, because I think from the stats that we have, over 60% of the population are actually from ethnic minority populations, and that's a conservative estimate. Personally, I think it's over that, probably about 70, more like that, because we have a lot of new arrivals from new EU states actually moving into the area. So yes, all our populations are hard to reach.
I think that in Leicester we've got a very large black and minority ethnic community that will probably be in the majority in the next few years. So working with BME communities is part of what we do, it's part of the mainstream. I think in recent years we've developed our services for people with disabilities in much greater ways. I suppose probably new communities that are coming into the city are the ones that are the hardest to reach.
I think my hardest groups to reach are young people or teenagers. That's quite a difficult group. It's easier to do it through doing partnership work in schools, but in terms of encouraging teenagers to come into the library and to use it not just a place to study, but to come in and see it as a place for leisure, for books, using the PCs. So that's an area where we need to improve. I'm concerned about, because in Brent, almost 60% of our population comes from black and ethnic minority backgrounds, and that also includes quite a few, well, many people from refugee and asylum seeker backgrounds. And I'm concerned that the events that we run in libraries, while many of them might come for the events, I think that they're not necessarily signing up to the library, so filling out an application form, becoming a library member and taking out books. So I think we need to do a lot more work with people who are coming from backgrounds where libraries have not traditionally been part of their life.
In my area of work, I find hardest to reach, as my colleagues say, a lot of them sort of are into sort of drinking alcohol, etc. And I'm trying to obviously get them linked into sport. And it's quite difficult as well if they're sort of they're doing drugs and drinking alcohol. It's trying to just sort of break them away from that, really. I find they're the hardest to reach groups.
I think language, poor health, people who may not have much money to spend, those are the kind of folk that can get pretty isolated, and it's part of our job to really encourage them to take part.
Like I said, I mean, the common denominator for most of these groups is the fact that most are migrants. Majority of those are actually first-generation migrants as well, and so we all know that economic and political factors is what actually attract a lot of people to travel outside their own country. So yes.
I think just because we've got an ever-changing demographic in the city, so we've got a new community of Somalians who've come in the last few years, and now a big Polish community, and it's just it's important for us to get to know them very quickly and to talk to them, engage them in cultural services.
I think a lot of the reason why is because of what they're doing. They find it hard to actually focus on something. If you set up sort of I don't know, some football tournament, etc., it's trying to actually get them linked into that and actually focus on what they are actually doing. And sometimes it is difficult with them, obviously, what they're doing in their other their other life.